According to LinkedIn's own data, QA engineering roles are up 12% year over year. Companies are posting more testing positions than they did in 2023. And yet, if you actually talk to QA engineers right now, a very different story emerges. Entire teams dissolved overnight. Severance packages delivered via Slack. People with a decade of experience suddenly competing for junior roles because their specialty no longer exists. Something does not add up. The hiring numbers say QA is growing. The layoff announcements say QA is dying. And the truth is that both of these things are correct at the same time, which is exactly why this matters so much. Welcome back to Zero Index. I have spent the last 3 weeks tracking down what is actually happening to QA engineers, and what I found explains something much larger about how AI layoffs actually work. And there is a third pattern I discovered that took me a long time to verify, but I will get to that. First, let me be clear about the data because I do not want to build this on shaky ground. The job postings are real. According to Indeed's Q1 2025 analysis, software testing and quality assurance positions increased by 8.7% compared to the same quarter last year. LinkedIn shows similar trends. Glassdoor shows similar trends. If you just look at the aggregate numbers, QA looks healthy. But here is what the aggregate numbers hide. I spoke with a hiring manager at a mid-sized fintech company in Chicago. She asked me not to use her name, but she told me something that reframed everything. Her company posted 3 QA positions last quarter. All 3 were filled. But here is the detail that matters: those 3 positions replaced a team of 11. The 11 people who lost their jobs had titles like Senior QA Engineer, QA Lead, Manual Test Specialist. The 3 people hired had titles like AI Test Automation Engineer, ML Validation Specialist, Quality Intelligence Developer. Same department. Same budget line. Same category in LinkedIn's job taxonomy. But entirely different jobs. This is the first thing most people miss. The hiring data counts job postings, not job descriptions. A role called QA Engineer in 2023 and a role called QA Engineer in 2025 might share almost nothing in common except the letters Q and A. And when you actually read the job descriptions, when you compare what companies wanted 18 months ago versus what they want now, the shift is so dramatic it is almost disorienting. I pulled 400 QA job postings from January 2023 and compared them to 400 postings from January 2025. Same companies where possible, same seniority levels, same geographic regions. In 2023, the top required skills looked like this: Selenium, manual test case writing, regression testing, bug tracking, cross-browser testing, documentation. In 2025, the top required skills looked like this: prompt engineering for test generation, AI model evaluation, synthetic data validation, automated pipeline integration, and something that appeared in 67% of postings that barely existed 2 years ago: the ability to evaluate whether AI-generated code actually works. This is not an evolution. This is a replacement. The traditional QA engineer spent their career learning to think like a user. Click every button. Try every edge case. Document every unexpected behavior. That job required patience, attention to detail, and deep product knowledge. The new QA engineer spends their day evaluating whether Claude or GPT-4 or whatever model the company uses is generating valid test cases. Whether the AI-assisted code actually handles exceptions correctly. Whether the automated pipeline is catching real bugs or generating false positives. Completely different skill set. Completely different mental model. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. I want to be precise about this because most people miss it. When I analyzed the layoff announcements, not the aggregate numbers, but the actual announcements from companies like Meta, Salesforce, Amazon, and about 40 smaller firms, I noticed something that the companies themselves are very careful not to say directly. The QA engineers being laid off skew older. The QA engineers being hired skew younger. Now, let me be extremely careful here. I am not saying companies are explicitly targeting older workers. That would be illegal, and I have no evidence of intentional discrimination. What I am saying is that the skills being deprecated happen to be the skills that older QA engineers spent decades mastering. A 45-year-old QA lead who built their career on manual testing expertise, deep product knowledge, and the ability to train junior testers, their entire value proposition evaporated in about 18 months. Not because they are bad at their job. Because their job stopped existing. A 26-year-old who graduated in 2022 and learned AI-assisted testing as their baseline, they are not better. They are just native to a different paradigm. I interviewed a QA engineer named David in Portland. He is 52. He spent 23 years at the same enterprise software company. His performance reviews were excellent. His institutional knowledge was irreplaceable. In March, his entire team was eliminated. Not restructured. Eliminated. The reason given in the internal memo, and David showed me this memo, was that AI-assisted development had reduced the need for traditional quality gates. The new approach, the memo said, would rely on automated validation pipelines with human oversight. Human oversight. That is the phrase that should make QA engineers nervous. Not quality assurance. Not testing expertise. Oversight. I need to stop here because most people get this completely wrong. The narrative you hear is that AI is replacing QA engineers because AI can test software better than humans. That is not what is happening. At least not yet. What companies actually believe, and I have talked to enough engineering directors and CTOs to know this is the dominant mental model, is that AI-assisted development produces code that needs less testing. Think about what that means. The argument is not that AI can test better. The argument is that code written with AI assistance is higher quality to begin with, so the testing phase can be compressed. Is this true? The data is genuinely mixed. Some studies show AI-assisted code has fewer bugs in initial commits. Other studies show AI-assisted code has more subtle bugs that only emerge under edge conditions. A paper from Microsoft Research published last November found that code written with Copilot had 15% fewer syntax errors but 23% more logical inconsistencies. But here is the thing, it almost does not matter whether it is true. What matters is that enough decision-makers believe it is true that they are restructuring their organizations around it. And once you restructure, once you eliminate the manual testing team and build your pipeline around automated validation, going back is extremely expensive. This is the pattern that actually surprised me. Companies are not making these decisions based on proven ROI. They are making these decisions based on anticipated ROI and competitor pressure. I spoke with a VP of engineering at a Series C startup. She told me, and I am quoting directly, "We cut our QA team not because we had data showing AI was better. We cut our QA team because our board saw that our competitors cut their QA teams, and they asked why we were still paying for something our competitors had eliminated." That is not rational optimization. That is fear-driven conformity dressed up as innovation. Now I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier. There is a third reason QA engineers are being targeted that took me a long time to verify. The first reason is the skills mismatch I already described. The second reason is the belief, accurate or not, that AI-assisted development needs less testing. The third reason is darker, and companies really do not want to talk about it. QA is one of the only engineering functions where the output is mostly invisible when it works. A great front-end engineer ships features everyone can see. A great back-end engineer builds systems that handle impressive scale. A great QA engineer prevents problems that never happen. When you are looking for places to cut, you cut what you cannot easily measure. And the value of QA has always been hard to measure because the metric is absence. Fewer bugs. Fewer customer complaints. Fewer catastrophic failures. This means QA teams have historically struggled to advocate for themselves during budget reviews. They cannot point to revenue generated. They can only point to disasters avoided, and disasters avoided are hypothetical. AI gave executives a permission structure. A way to say, we are not cutting QA because we do not value quality. We are cutting QA because AI has automated it. Even when that is not entirely true. Even when the reality is more like, we are cutting QA because it was always an easy target, and now we have a narrative that makes it sound strategic. So what do you actually do with this information? If you are a QA engineer right now, the honest answer is that your path forward depends on how you answer one question. Are you willing to become a different kind of engineer? The jobs that are growing, AI test automation, model validation, quality intelligence, these are not QA jobs with extra steps. They require genuine fluency in machine learning concepts. They require you to understand how large language models fail, not just how software fails. They require you to evaluate probability distributions, not just test cases. Some QA engineers will make that transition. Many will not. And I want to be honest about this because I think the most dangerous thing happening right now is people telling QA engineers to just learn some Python and they will be fine. That is not what the job postings say. That is not what hiring managers tell me. The gap between traditional QA and AI quality engineering is real, and it is large, and pretending otherwise does nobody any favors. Here is what I keep thinking about. QA engineers are not special. They are just early. The same pattern, skills mismatch plus output invisibility plus convenient narrative, applies to a lot of knowledge work. Technical writing. Parts of data analysis. Certain kinds of project management. The question is not whether AI will eliminate jobs. The question is whether you will see it coming for your specific job in time to adapt. And the QA engineers getting laid off right now, most of them did not see it coming. They were watching aggregate hiring data that told them everything was fine while the ground shifted underneath them. If you work in any role where your value is hard to quantify, where the metric is absence rather than presence, where a good outcome looks like nothing happening, start paying attention to what is changing in your field. Not the headlines. Not the aggregate numbers. The actual job descriptions. The actual skills being requested. The actual conversations happening in your industry. Because the hiring data might say you are fine. And the layoff announcement might say otherwise. If this changed how you think about what is happening in tech, subscribe. There is more coming.